Sometimes, life sets the stage in the most unexpected darkness, quietly working wonders behind the curtain. While the world assumed nothing was shifting, quiet miracles were forging a foundation beneath the surface. Outwardly, it might have looked like stillness or even setbacks, but in the unseen places, endurance was quietly building an empire of strength. The challenges weren't accidents, they were invitations to become something astonishing. The very storms meant to erase hope instead distilled a rare kind of courage, the kind that can't be faked. Now, with every step, the journey itself is proof that transformation isn't loud or obvious at first, it's revealed in the quiet aftermath, when impossible victories start to speak for themselves. What's been growing all this time is finally undeniable, and the world has no choice but to notice that. If you felt something shift, hit subscribe and let's keep growing together. This is just the beginning, don't miss what's next. Defeat was expected by many, that's what made the quiet transformation even more powerful. Where most would have faltered or faded, an inner revolution was underway, invisible to the crowd and impervious to their predictions. There was no spotlight, no applause, only the relentless persistence of someone refusing to be written out of their own story. The setbacks weren't stumbling blocks, but secret catalysts that ignited an uncommon adaptation, turning every disappointment into a piece of strategy, every moment of exclusion into an opportunity to build beyond the reach of doubt. Instead of making noise or announcing triumphs, elevation became the answer, rising above the static, moving with intention, letting actions speak volumes where words never could. It wasn't about vengeance or proving anything to onlookers, it was the quiet satisfaction of seeing resilience become its own kind of revolution. Now, those who once dismissed the journey are left piecing together how everything shifted without warning. The win was never broadcast. It was simply lived. And that's why the victory is undeniable. Certain victories aren't about overpowering anyone, they're about refusing to lose yourself in the process. The temptation to mirror the chaos or to retaliate in kind never took root, instead, integrity stayed unshaken, even as the world tried to provoke a reaction. Every scheme, every sideways glance, every attempt to unravel that center, none of it managed to shift the quiet determination to move with honor, no matter how wild things became. Endurance here wasn't measured by loud declarations or dramatic gestures, it showed itself in small, private choices. While the noise outside tried to rewrite the rules, self-mastery set the terms from within. No one realized that real power is restraint, that true growth means sidestepping traps, not springing them on someone else. Those hoping for retaliation were left empty-handed when kindness became the response. There was no need to explain or expose, the greatest proof was progress itself. Authenticity never needed an audience. Where others built traps, transformation was quietly at work, rewriting the script, not for approval, but out of a commitment to a higher path. When the dust finally settled, what stood tall wasn't pride or vengeance, but a spirit unshaken, having turned provocation into purpose, and challenge into calm, unbreakable resolve. Misinterpretation is a common fate for quiet perseverance. What's happening beneath the surface is rarely understood by those only watching for spectacle. In the shadow of waiting, while nothing appeared to shift, a careful realignment was underway, purpose being recalibrated, vision being sharpened in silence. Growth found its own rhythm, immune to external clocks or the impatient whispers of others. Every moment of stillness became a forge, where resilience hardened and identity deepened, away from the glare and the noise. This wasn't neglect, it was an incubation, a preparation for opportunities that needed a different kind of readiness. Unseen progress stacked up, not to be displayed or validated, but to serve a future that called for more than mere surface victories. No one saw the recalculations, the quiet letting go of roles that no longer fit, the inner renovations that transformed loss into insight and waiting into wisdom. With every season of apparent standstill, momentum built in secret. When the turning point finally arrived, it felt less like a sudden break and more like a long-awaited unveiling. The narrative others held fell away. The timing made sense in retrospect. What looked like delay was only the universe pausing for perfect alignment. Now, the movement is unstoppable, not because it was rushed, but because every layer of readiness was honored before the breakthrough ever showed its face. Hard times rarely call for applause, and real strength isn't interested in a stage. Endurance sometimes looks like quietly piecing yourself together in the privacy of your own mind, choosing not to parade every bruise for sympathy. When the pressure mounted and chaos circled close, resilience did its work in solitude, refusing to fold just because the audience turned away. There was no spotlight for nights spent wrestling with doubt, no witnesses to the silent victories over disappointment, only a quiet commitment to keep moving forward even when each step felt impossible. Where others may have broadcast their heartbreak for validation, transformation took place in the unseen moments where pain became a kind of teacher, where every internal fracture mapped out a new path to wisdom. It wasn't about turning wounds into spectacle or mining grief for attention. It was about learning to carry hope in spaces where no comfort was offered and no hand reached out. The struggle was not about defeat or collapse, but a determination to stand, even on trembling legs, and reclaim the pieces that others thought would remain scattered. Growth was forged, not from running from hurt, but by facing it head-on, refusing to let hardship etch victimhood into identity. Over time, the anguish gave way to clarity. Scars shifted into reminders of boundaries drawn, lessons claimed, and strength discovered. That quiet restoration, performed without witnesses or applause, became the greatest victory, a rebuilding so thorough that it left no room for bitterness, only a sharper, wiser presence. Now, when eyes look on, what's visible isn't the story of suffering but the unmistakable light that emerges only from overcoming it. The narrative isn't written in pain, but in the peace that followed, in the stillness that comes after the storm. This was never about seeking rescue, but about awakening to the revelation that self-compassion could be its own salvation. That's why the present is different. There's no need for explanation, no desire for approval, because healing happened on the inside, where it matters most. Elevation works its magic best in silence, not through retaliation or spectacle. Sometimes, when accusations circle and judgment whispers in the background, the wisest move is to let stillness speak. Instead of engaging with every provocation or fueling conflict with more words, rising above the noise becomes a kind of discipline, a practice that brings its own kind of justice. The urge to fight back, to defend, to reveal hidden truths, often fades when the promise of inner peace is at stake. Those who tried to dim the light or distort the narrative eventually found themselves entangled in the web they spun, all without any intervention or exposure. Time, in its patience, unravels what cannot last, revealing what was always meant to come to the surface. While the world expects dramatic gestures or explosive reveals, true advancement happens behind closed doors, where character is preserved and intention is clarified. Walking away from battles that were never worth winning, a deeper focus settles in, a focus that trades chaos for calm and conflict for clarity. The absence of drama isn't surrender, but the ultimate act of choosing oneself over the need for validation. Progress grows quietly while distractions fall away. Truth reveals itself not through confrontation, but through the unstoppable movement of growth. As the seasons shift, those watching realize that nothing needed to be explained or justified. The radiance of transformation is all the evidence required. Rising above smallness, the energy that once was spent on defending is now invested in building, evolving, and simply living fully. What seemed like defeat to some was, in reality, a silent ascension. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't revenge, it was the peace that settled in, the promotion that arrived naturally, and the unshakable confidence that came from staying true to purpose. Some people develop a quiet intuition that never makes a sound, yet shapes the entire outcome. Moves in the open can be predicted, but perception that runs beneath the surface is almost impossible to track. While manipulation spun around, thinking misdirection would disorient, a silent awareness watched from behind the scenes, registering details missed by the untrained eye. No calculated rumor or subtle gesture could truly take hold, because there was always a deeper recognition of motive and motion, a kind of internal alert that triggered long before any threat arrived. Patterns revealed themselves in the pauses between words, in the smallest shifts of energy, in the rhythm of people's intentions. It was never about out-shouting or out-maneuvering, but quietly reading the undercurrents and stepping aside before trouble ever found its mark. Foresight wasn't a matter of guesswork or paranoia, but of standing so still that the slightest ripple became a warning. When conflict tried to draw closer, distance was already established. While others relied on force or spectacle, there was a gentle clarity, carefully choosing presence, sometimes vanishing from spaces that felt off before anyone else noticed. This level of awareness didn't just shield from drama, it rewrote the rules, refusing to give chaos a stage. No need to argue, prove, or confront. Just watch, adjust, and move on, unmoved by the noise and untouched by the snares. In the end, those who thought they could orchestrate confusion found themselves perplexed, as elevation happened out of reach, guided by an unexplainable sense of timing and truth. Victory belonged not to the one who shouted loudest, but to the one who listened deepest, navigating storms with nothing but inner guidance as a map. True transformation doesn't come from avoiding hardship, it comes from walking straight through what most people dread and coming out the other side with something unbreakable inside. There's a unique kind of strength born from enduring what looked impossible, a strength that no outside force can touch or diminish. The trials weren't simply survived, they became the raw material for new boundaries, new perspectives, new layers of inner steel. What once would have sent panic racing now barely causes a stir, not because the heart has hardened, but because it's learned to trust itself in the middle of the unknown. Tests kept coming, each one trying to push the limits, but instead of splintering, there was a slow, steady integration of wisdom, a refusal to let pain decide the narrative. Old triggers lost their power, old wounds became markers of how far the journey had traveled. The environment that once threatened to consume instead became a crucible for growth. Doubt, fear, and disappointment turned into reference points, not roadblocks. Endurance replaced fragility, and self-reliance took the place of dependence. The world may see a new calmness as indifference or distance, but that's just misunderstanding the kind of quiet power that only comes from real transformation. Strength now isn't about fighting every battle, but about knowing which storms aren't even worth noticing. The past might have tried to unravel everything, but what remains is solid, resilient, and deeply rooted. No attack lands the same way, no storm shakes the foundation. What was meant to destroy only revealed a version that cannot be shaken, ever again. Some people turn their lowest moments into fuel for something extraordinary. What was meant to embarrass and diminish, instead became the invitation to step deeper into authenticity. Disappointment and exclusion may have stung, but rather than surrendering to bitterness or seeking validation, it was a quiet internal shift that took place. Stripped of expectation, the need for approval faded away, replaced by the desire to rebuild from a truer place. Instead of chasing after recognition or fighting to be understood, a calm resolve settled in, determined to find meaning in the very places that others tried to make unlivable. Shame lost its grip as it was allowed to teach, not torment, the masks fell away, and what remained was the raw honesty of self. In the absence of applause, roots grew deeper, motives became pure, and the urge to perform vanished. Each painful experience was shaped into wisdom, woven quietly into the tapestry of a new identity, one that no longer relied on praise or revenge to feel whole. That's where real power emerged, not in rising loudly, but in finding unwavering peace and purpose where only silence remained. As the journey unfolded, the echoes of ridicule faded, and the old wounds became stepping stones, transforming attempted defeat into an unshakable foundation. Those who tried to limit potential unwittingly provided the materials for greatness, not realizing that what looked like an ending was the birthplace of a life built on strength, humility, and unbreakable spirit. Access doesn't always come from knocking louder, but from becoming someone so aligned that opportunities find their way to you without invitation. Spaces that once felt out of reach start opening, not because of calculated moves or strategic alliances, but because of the quiet transformation that took place away from the spotlight. No longer striving for attention or forcing entry, presence itself becomes magnetic, and purpose resonates louder than any campaign ever could. Internal clarity replaces the noise of ambition, and suddenly, doors once thought sealed begin to yield, drawn by the authenticity now radiating from within. The pursuit shifts from chasing validation to cultivating depth, and as inner peace grows, the need to prove or explain dissolves. Suddenly, pathways appear where none seemed possible, and connections emerge, not through force, but through natural attraction. Recognition arrives not because of desperation, but because what has been built within cannot be overlooked. Instead of seeking out rooms to enter, existence itself becomes the reason those rooms matter. Transformation has reversed the order of things. Now, the very places that once overlooked become seekers themselves, drawn by the undeniable evidence of change and self-mastery. And with each new opportunity, gratitude replaces anxiety, discernment overrides desperation, and growth is no longer a goal, it is a way of being. Arrival happens quietly, but its impact reshapes everything. No longer is the focus on being chosen, recognition follows naturally, because what was once sought has been embodied. Recognition from the crowd was never the real prize, substance was built in solitude, far from fleeting celebration. The lesson emerged slowly, applause is unpredictable, shifting with fashion and circumstance, never able to anchor true worth. Eventually, seeking approval faded into the background, replaced by the clarity that identity can't survive if it's shaped by shifting voices. Stepping back wasn't a sign of defeat, but an elevation into territory few even notice, a place where true power grows quietly, untouched by passing trends or momentary hype. The whispers about absence or withdrawal missed the reality of transformation taking place in silence, where external acknowledgement had little to do with inner expansion. While many were busy trading authenticity for a handful of compliments, the real upgrade was happening deep within, a strength that couldn't be purchased, a vision that couldn't be imitated, a calling immune to cancellation or applause. Defending every move or explaining every season became unnecessary, as the source of confidence shifted from visibility to conviction. Moving differently was never about chasing relevance, it was about receiving direction that can't be given or taken by those who don't understand the assignment. Times of being unseen were actually seasons of being equipped, licensed, and empowered beyond what the public eye could measure. When recognition eventually arrives, there's no anxiety about losing it, because the foundation isn't built on anyone's applause. This unshakable confidence outlasts opinion, and purpose becomes too rooted to be derailed by rumor or overlooked by misunderstanding. Spaces that once felt intimidating no longer have the power to unsettle, because the core has been fortified. What others call isolation is simply preparation for assignments too important to depend on popularity. The end result? Approval is nice, but it's not required. Because real authority, once claimed, can't be revoked by any audience. A rare few treat hardship not as an obstacle but as an invitation to evolve. While the world fidgets and complains during the slow seasons, true transformation is happening beneath the surface, quietly and deliberately. Patterns become teachers, disappointments turn into hidden blueprints, and every unexpected shift contains a lesson meant to deepen rather than distract. Most drift into resentment or impatience, searching for shortcuts or comparing their path to another's, missing the subtle gold embedded in their own story. Here, each pause becomes a chance to strengthen character, peel away old layers, and gently sever ties to patterns that never served. Instead of resisting discomfort, there's a willingness to listen, really listen, to what the struggle is trying to reveal. Time is no longer the enemy, but a silent craftsman, shaping resilience and expanding vision, allowing space for wisdom to settle in where panic once lived. The real work is done in the moments no one applauds, breaking cycles quietly, rewriting inner scripts, softening old wounds, and practicing self-kindness that doesn't depend on outcomes. No performance, no false victories, just raw, honest change that lingers long after the storm has passed. Over time, what once felt like punishment reveals itself as precision, the exact sculpting needed to prepare for what's next. Out of the pressure, a new self emerges, rooted, unhurried, and unshakable, ready not only to receive good things, but to nurture, defend, and multiply them. The outside world might only now be catching on, wondering at the quiet certainty and steady confidence, but the answer has always been the same: the journey was never wasted. Each moment was used, and because of that, what arrives next won't slip away. It was earned through patience, crafted through presence, and will be carried forward with the strength of someone who truly knows their own process. Some journeys are shaped not by the wounds life hands out, but by the way those wounds are received and transmuted. Many become echoes of their old pain, letting yesterday's heartbreaks become today's identity. There's a comfort in staying attached to old scars, letting them become a flag for sympathy, a script to perform for anyone who'll listen. But real change begins at the exact point where pain is met with curiosity, not complaint. Rather than reciting old narratives or demanding understanding, there's a willingness to step past the edge of the familiar, even if that means leaving behind the safety of feeling wronged. What could have been armor instead became a door, not to self-pity but to raw self-examination. There is no strength in rehearsing the same injury. Instead, growth emerged from dismantling every story that started with blame and ended with bitterness. In those unguarded moments, the mirror was no longer a weapon for accusation but a tool for seeing patterns with unfiltered eyes. Facing those hidden corners, the uncomfortable questions arose, questions most spend a lifetime avoiding. The real challenge was never the original hurt, but what it asked of the heart, to acknowledge the ways survival habits lingered long after danger had passed. Old reactions, old defenses, the endless cycle of reliving and retelling, each one was brought into the light, not to be shamed, but to be rewritten. The journey inward became a painstaking practice of pulling apart beliefs inherited from chaos, the willingness to ask, what am I carrying that isn't even mine, and what story do I choose from here? That relentless honesty was never glamorous. It required peeling away layers that felt safer left untouched, embracing the awkwardness of vulnerability, the rawness of admitting what still hurt. Yet out of that difficult labor, a new story started to take shape, one not rooted in the language of wounds, but in the intention to become whole. The old version that sought comfort in the familiar narrative of being wronged began to fade, replaced by the steadiness of a person who chose to let pain deepen them, not define them. Day by day, the triggers lost their hold. There was less appetite for sympathy and more hunger for transformation. The world's approval, or even its understanding, stopped mattering. Instead, there was a clarity that radiated from the inside out, a kind of peace that didn't need decoration or explanation, a presence that spoke for itself. The energy became unmistakable. Boundaries sharpened, not out of fear, but out of love for the newfound self. Connections shifted, people could feel the difference between someone who still bled for attention and someone who had cleaned the wound, stitched it, and moved on. The real prize wasn't the applause of being a survivor, it was the quiet dignity of no longer needing that title. Life stopped being about what happened to the soul and started being about what was built with every experience. There was a sense of authorship, a powerful self-definition that had nothing to do with suffering and everything to do with wisdom and self-respect. Old stories were replaced by a new script, one written in the ink of courage and truth, where victory was measured not in avoidance, but in the willingness to be changed by the work. And now, even when old echoes try to return, there's only gratitude for the transformation, for the deep knowing that comes when pain is no longer the headline, but the backstory to something far greater. Letting go of control can look a lot like weakness in a world addicted to noise and urgency, but in reality, it's one of the most advanced moves on the board. While most chase outcomes and try to orchestrate every scene, there's a rare wisdom in stepping back and letting the process unfold without interference. This isn't the kind of passivity that comes from giving up, it's an active, potent trust, a deliberate willingness to let the universe reweave what human hands can only tangle. Others might mistake this stillness for lack of ambition or direction, yet it's a discipline forged in the fire of experience. It's the silent courage to stop knocking on closed doors and to wait, with faith, for the ones that truly belong. This deep surrender isn't just a gesture of peace, it's an entire strategy built on the understanding that force rarely leads to real fulfillment. While many panic when answers don't arrive on their schedule, something shifts inside when you stop attaching your identity to how quickly things manifest. You start to realize that the timing of your life is not a punishment, but a protection. Every no is an invitation to greater alignment, every closed door is a signpost redirecting you towards something deeper. In this place, hope is no longer a wish, it's a settled knowing, a confidence in being carried, even through what makes no sense. Releasing control doesn't mean inactivity. It means taking action with detachment, refusing to let anxiety write the script. You move forward, but you don't chase. You show up, but you don't cling. Each day becomes an exercise in listening, really listening, to what feels right, not what looks urgent. The letting go is never an excuse for inaction, it's a willingness to trust that the right things will find you, and the wrong things will quietly slip away. There is power in restraint, in the pause before saying yes to what glitters but doesn't nourish. The world may be sprinting, but your pace is steady, guided by something deeper than deadlines. Over time, the landscape changes. The opportunities you used to beg for begin to appear on their own terms. Relationships once strained by your striving now flow naturally, with space for real connection. The storms you once tried to outsmart start to make sense in hindsight. You realize you didn't need more force, you needed more faith. The outcomes you receive in this surrendered state are different, they stick. They align. They feel like home. And those watching from the sidelines, puzzled by your patience, are often left speechless when everything falls into place, sometimes better than you could have designed. What once looked like loss reveals itself as a setup. Each chapter of silence, each moment of invisibility, was actually a hidden investment, an initiation into a new way of being. You pass through disappointments without being defined by them, you embrace seasons of lack as the soil for future harvests, and you learn that the best blessings are never forced, they're received. The old patterns of hustling for attention or validation lose their shine, replaced by the satisfaction of being chosen, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. Now, every step is evidence of growth. You've outgrown the need for noise. Your success no longer needs an explanation, because it was never about showing the world what you could accumulate, it was about what you could allow. The proof is in the atmosphere you carry, unshaken, unhurried, and undeniable. No one can replicate the results of a surrendered life, because what emerges from this path isn't just a collection of wins, it's a testimony to what happens when trust and alignment become the true north. So as the world keeps asking for the formula, you keep moving in quiet confidence. There's no longer a need to justify or explain, no blueprint to share with those still chasing what you've already become. The elevation you experience is its own evidence, and the legacy you leave is written in the wisdom of knowing that surrender isn't the end of ambition, it's the beginning of real power. Everything that tried to break you became the very reason you were built to last. The glow, the peace, the clarity, none of it was granted by chance. It was earned in the shadows, solidified in solitude, and revealed in the timing only divine order could orchestrate. You didn't just hope for a breakthrough, you became the living proof that surrender is the ultimate key to becoming unstoppable.